My guest today is writer-director Jamie Benyon and his BAFTA and BIFA-qualified short film, 2 Minutes. Now, his screenplays have won the IMDb Script to Screen Award, top 10% on the Coverfly comedy short film list, and a semi-finalist in the Short Script competition, a quarter-finalist in the Screencraft Fellowship, and top 40 at the UK Film Festival. Now, Jamie Benyon's short, titled 2 Minutes, is an endearing short film comedy, and I absolutely love it. I mean, stars Ted Lasso's Annette Badland, Samuel Bottomley from How to Have Sex and Sundown, as well as Ashley Margolis from Brassic and Silent Witness. Now, 2 Minutes won first prize for Best Comedy Short Film at Flicker's Rhode Island International Film Festival and Best British Comedy at Discover Film Festival, but was also an official selection at this year's BFI London, as well as premiering in Canada at the Oscar-qualifying Edmonton International Film Festival, along with many BIFA-qualifying festivals across the UK. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome writer-director Jamie Benyon and his incredible short film, 2 Minutes, to the show. Welcome, Jamie.
How you doing, Ward? Lovely to speak to you.
You too. I have been waiting to interview you once I saw this incredible film of yours. Where in the world did you get the idea for this film?
It's a good question. I mean, it just kind of came to me, truthfully. I very much love crime comedy films. I think they work incredibly well as stories. And, you know, I've been wanting to write a heist film for a while, you know, like a robbery taking place. And I thought to myself, what would be the worst and funniest thing to happen to me if I was going to rob a shop? And meeting my nan would probably be the funniest thing to happen to me. And that's kind of how it all came about.
So for a lot of those who have not seen this film yet, what's this film about?
So it's about two brothers that rob a corner shop and they get interrupted by their nan during the heist.
Yeah, I love the whole concept. Now, I have to ask, how many jokes do you get about the title 2 Minutes for a 6-minute short film?
Oh my God, I've actually lost count of how many people make a note of that. And if I'd known in advance that was going to happen, I totally would not have called it 2 minutes. I've had people demanding money back. You know, they've been missold something. Like, okay, it's not 2 minutes. It makes sense in the film why it's called 2 minutes, but the film is actually 6 minutes long.
Yeah, I think the shortest short film I've ever seen was 4 minutes. Right. And when they sent it to me, I emailed them back and I said, do you have the film? Because is this the trailer? Yeah. So, but yours is a full-fledged film, and you actually have a stellar cast. And how did you cast Annette Badland, Samuel Bottomley, and Ashley Margolis for this film? Because Annette is the star here, I think.
Yeah, I mean, she is the best. I love Annette so much. She has, since we've wrapped, we've kind of become family. I've adopted her as my nan. She is just truly amazing. And, you know, I was very lucky to get that cast. I just before filming the short, I was on a mentorship scheme, like a director's mentorship scheme. And my mentor was this guy called Tom George, who had directed a BBC sitcom called This Country, sorry. And it had won the BAFTA. And he also directed the film See How They Run. And he was my mentor. And he, you know, I won this competition and he was like, you need to get a casting director. So he put me in touch with our casting director, Jess Mescal. And me and her hit it off. She knew exactly what I wanted to do. She loved the script and sent forward her sort of options. And I must be honest, Annette was not my first choice. We actually sent the script to Miriam Margolis. She was the first person I had in mind. She had read it. She loved it, but turned it down because she was doing her autobiography and was about to go back to Australia to do this book tour. And our next choice was Annette. And, you know, I feel like looking back, it was always meant to be. Do you know what I mean? Like, we were never meant to get Miriam. It was always meant to be Annette. I couldn't imagine anyone else playing the nan role except Annette. She had the humor that you wanted, the energy that you wanted. She just really brought it, and she plays perfectly off Sam. These two very different sort of actors and characters as well, but their acting styles are just so like different. But they just bonded so well, and even Ashley, all three of them, they just got on so incredibly well, and it was a dream cast. Essentially, it was just really amazing.
Yeah, when I saw the film, I recognized all three of them, and
Right.
with Ashley, even though he had the mask on, I'm like, I know him, and I think it's his eyes that give him away. But
Yeah.
Annette, you're right, she is the perfect Nan. I loved her in Ted Lasso. Uh, and she encompasses her character so well, like you said. I mean, everything we would expect a Nan to be. I mean, that's Annette. So,
Mm.
how was it directing her?
It was terrifying. I can't lie. I can't lie. I up until this point, everything that I'd made had been, very micro budget. I'd used semi-professional and amateur actors, from Facebook or, like Mandy, these sort of like websites that we use to kind of bring on board, like low budget actors. So this was a significant jump up for me, and I was very nervous and apprehensive before we shot. But once Annette had come on board, we sent it to her the Thursday night. She confirmed that she wanted to do it literally the next day, which was really great. The moment we got Annette on board, Sam said yes, and then we then brought Ashley on board. It was just like this domino effect. They all just suddenly jumped on board, and she certainly was the kind of key, like the glue to everything. And even before we shot, I only had 1 hour rehearsal with the cast before we shot. We shot on a Thursday. I then had a Zoom call with all three of the actors on the Saturday for an hour. And it was a real chance to figure out whether this was actually going to work, whether the cast would actually get on well and they would gel well, and, whether they understood the story and what I kind of wanted to do with it. And, again, it just went so well. Annette was asking the right questions, knew what she wanted to kind of do with the piece. And same with Sam and Ashley, they knew exactly what I wanted. And I explained it to them very simply because I didn't want to overcomplicate things, because I always assumed that they would see right through me, because I'm a very up and coming director. This is like my first sort of big production, I guess, with like a proper cast. They are so experienced, they can see right through that. So I didn't want to BS anyone. I just wanted to be completely honest and just go, right, this is what I want to do. And I explained to Annette that she epitomizes the sort of comedy genre. She's the Nan, she's very humorous, she's very warm, she's very loving. Sam is the crime genre, very serious, very tense. I want that tension. And then Ashley just kind of straddles between the two. And that's going to create this sort of like frenetic, fast paced sort of comedy that I'm hoping actually comes through in the film. And yeah, they got it. They understood it instantly. There was no egos. There was no nothing. Everyone was super cool, super lovely. They understood the script. They wanted to do it. They were enthusiastic about doing it. I can't speak any more highly about the experience that I had with them. It was honestly the best thing that's ever happened to me. It was so great.
This is what I want, because I have so many filmmakers that watch all of my interviews, and I'm starting to see some things from other filmmakers, and you really kind of confirm what I've been seeing.
Great.
So for all of you filmmakers out there watching right now, and you've been doing short films, but you've always been scared to step out and ask a well-known actor, step out and ask the well-known actor. Because you probably know this, Jamie. There are many of these actors that if they see the script and they really like it, and they may not know who you are, a lot of them have said yes to doing a short, and it just raises the bar for the filmmaker, but it also makes a lot of the other elements of the film easier to obtain, anywhere from a better cinematographer, maybe a composer, I mean, the list goes on. So for a lot of people, for a lot of up and coming filmmakers out there, don't be afraid to ask. Just go out there and do it. And you've proven that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It is scary. When you and if you're humble enough and open enough to admit, I've come from this background. I've worked, obviously I've worked with actors before, but no one this experience. Annette is in the UK in particular is a screen legend. You know what I mean? She's been in Midsummer Murders, Doctor Who, EastEnders. She is such a recognizable face especially in TV. People know her. And Sam, the driver, he's BIFA and BAFTA nominated. He's a very screen star of tomorrow, very upcoming actor. He's just been announced to star alongside Daniel Day-Lewis in his return feature film. Do you know what I mean? And even Ashley to a degree. I know he's not maybe as recognizable as like Annette and Sam, but he's equally as experienced. He's done Hollyoaks, which is a big sort of like soap in the UK. And obviously he was on Silent Witness, and these big sort of like productions. These actors, they're there, and I must admit, I think we were quite fortunate because of the strikes that was kind of happening at the same time. So I do think they were at a loose end, maybe, and it was the right script at the right time for the right moment. Do you know what I mean? And I think it all just kind of fell into place very lovely, and it kind of was very beneficial for us, and you just have to kind of go for it. You go, right, this is my one shot. This is literally the one shot that we've got. I don't know if this is ever going to happen for me again. And I have to kind of take this moment, run with it. And if I crash and burn, I crash and burn. But at least I've worked with really talented people. But you never know, it might work and it might pay off. And I think it paid off for us, which was really great.
Well, did you have your cinematographer picked out before or after you got Annette?
Yeah. So Kit is my bro. He's my man. We actually met shortly after COVID. We made a very rugged Super 8 short film together and hit it off. And we've been like really close friends, I think, since then. We've done multiple music videos together. We've kind of gradually kind of built up, both knowing that narrative was where we were going to eventually end up. And, once 2 minutes happened and I'd won this competition, it was like, great, this is what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to cut our teeth and show people what we can really do. And yeah, I love working with him. He is an incredible person.
I don't usually bring up funding, but I'm going to bring it up now because I understand how this film got made. So you won a Screenwriters Award and you used that prize money to make this film, didn't you?
I did indeed.
That must have been easy. That must have been a huge blessing because everybody hates raising money.
Yeah, no. And truthfully, I wrote this script back in 2021, shortly after COVID, with the intention I was going to self-fund it. I was just going to go out with some mates, and just go do it. Couldn't do that because of funding. I then thought, I've heard of this competition called the IMDb Script to Screen Award. I set a reminder on my calendar to enter as early as possible to keep it as cheap as possible, because it was outside of London. It was in a place called Bath. It wasn't. I thought maybe I've got a better chance because it's not in the hub. Do you know what I mean? Not many people might know about it. Submitted it, totally forgot I'd even submitted it into this competition, and then I got an email like the early part of the summer of 2023, like June time, saying the script had been shortlisted and that I needed to go down to Bath to see the script be performed on stage by drama students from Bath University. So my girlfriend and I, we went down there. Like this in itself is crazy. So we get there, the event is happening. They've read the script on stage. There was 5 scripts in total, including mine. And then the judges, one of them being the writer of Trainspotting, who works with Danny Boyle on the script. Other producers, Cole Needman, who is like the CEO of IMDb. They're all there, and then they went off to kind of decide which script would be the winner. And they returned after about half an hour or so to come to a tie, saying we're torn between 2 scripts. The judges are totally split. 2 minutes as being one of them, and then another script. And they said the only way we can break the deadlock was by seeing who won the audience vote. And we were lucky to have won the audience vote, therefore enabling us to kind of we won the $7,000 sort of cash prize. And, I could have very easily have pocketed that. I just got, right, I'm not going to go do this. But, it was like, great, we can now actually go and make something. We've got a bit of money to actually pay people, not loads and not the sort of standard industry rate, but, at least a couple £100 or, £100 to say, can you help us out for the day? We could bring on the cast, we could actually pay for permits, so we're not totally guerrilla and like illegal. Like we can actually do this really well. And that's what I mean. Like it was our one shot. Like I can't think that it would ever happen again. So like we have to capitalize on this. And that's kind of how it all came about. If we hadn't won that competition, I'm very aware that this year would have been totally different. You and I probably would not be talking, and this script would have stayed on my laptop. It wouldn't have been made.
Wow. I mean, how long did it only take a day to film this?
It really did. Yeah, it really did. We call time was at 7 a.m. and wrap was at 7 p.m. And we literally cut. So the last shot, basically when Nan departs, if you're very attuned to sort of like cinematography, you can actually tell it's a totally different time of day. It is like golden hour and the sun is literally about to disappear. It was the last shot and we were like, we got it. The sun literally like disappeared like 30 seconds later and then that was it. So we really pushed it as far as we could go to get the natural sort of sunlight, but it was all done in a single day. But that was the intention. I wrote the script, a singular location, very minimal characters, there's only 3 characters, all very achievable within a singular day. So that was the whole sort of premise. That was why we wanted to do it.
Well, so I noticed that in the film, the 2 young men are going to rob this corner store and they hit the timer on the dash of the car. Now, of course, with the timer, did you use that to add any pressure for you as a director in filming the sequences of the shots for this film?
No, that was all embedded in the story. That was all part of the pressure to put on the characters to try and get Nan out of the car, and which added, it was just something that it just came to me. I didn't really think much of it. I just thought, well, that's a really fun idea. I added it in and it just added this energy to the writing in particular. Like it gave the characters this friction to like, right, let's just get out, but I can't give away and reveal to you why I want you out of the car, which created more humor because the Nan is obviously completely oblivious to what is going on. And obviously her grandson is just itching to get her out as soon as possible because they're obviously robbing this shop. And on the day, especially towards the later part of the day when we moved into the sort of very comedic, fast sort of part of the film when the gunman returns back to the car and Nan discovers, she finally clocks on what's going on and all this chaos kind of erupts. Certainly the clock ticking, the actors was aware of that. So that kind of drove their performances, certainly. And obviously the crew was aware of it as well. And when we were filming those sort of later part of the film, I could actually hear the crew laughing round the corner, round by Video Village, like laughing as like this chaos is erupting. So it kind of like, I don't know, it just kind of helped everything kind of move along and tick along, which was really fun. I mean, I really enjoy it. I can see why Christopher Nolan loves Time because it certainly is a lot of fun to play with.
Well, I think what it did too was that it got the audience involved because this is a film that from beginning to end, it's going to start and it has to end. It's timed out, and the audience feels the tension once he hits that clock. Mentally, we're all counting the 2 minutes, and that's what really drives this film. And it was so great to hear that the actors were even using the clock because that also adds to the tension. It adds to the comedy. And I thought one of the funniest moments in this film, here you have 2 guys just robbed a corner store. Nan is in the front seat. The other brother comes back and the rear door is locked. But they get into an argument over the childproof lock. I'm like, You're arguing over the lock. The alarm's going off. The police are going to arrive, and you're wondering whose fault it was for setting the childproof lock on the door. I thought that was brilliant.
That was honestly so funny to film. That was by far the sequence that everyone knew was coming up. And Kit, the cinematographer, and I, we were like, we've got to nail this. This is literally like the whole film was building up to this. This is like really, we've really got to cover this well and shoot it correctly. And honestly, it was so much fun to shoot that. It was incredible. Like we had a big team of like runners and just crew in general, all dressed up in high vis jackets. We closed off all the residential roads, and Kit is running across the road with the camera as Ashley is like fleeing from the shop, and all this chaos is like erupting. And I am a filmmaker who likes to kind of keep my coverage quite minimal. I don't really like to shoot too much. And I actually storyboarded the hell out of this sequence because I wanted to make sure it was completely covered. But being, as an editor as well, I was able to kind of on the set realize I've over storyboarded this. So let's keep it more simple. And so it just kind of developed. It just kind of organically kind of came about. Kit kind of showed me these really cool camera moves that kind of obviously made its way into the film as well. And it all actually, as much as we were mentally preparing for this sequence to be more challenging, it was actually the easiest part to shoot. Really, it was a lot of fun. And as I said, you could hear all the crew, round the corner laughing as all of this chaos is kind of erupting. And I just kept saying to the actors, play it as straight as possible because it would just be so funny. And
Well, yeah, the panic. I mean, Nan is in the front seat blocking the other brother, and then the back seat being locked just added to the whole plot line, because what made that scene so funny is that for a moment, yeah, there is that internal fear of getting caught, but their other half of their brain is focusing on, I got to get in this car and we got to drive away, but we got to get her out of here because she's going to get arrested.
Honestly, when that sequence happens at film festivals, that part really gets people laughing. Really laughing. And when we screened at Flickers in Rhode Island, I was a bit nervous beforehand whether the American audiences would get it, because obviously I feel like it's very British humor. And the place was, oh my God, I've never heard people laughing so much. The place was erupting during that moment. And I thought, oh my God, this is actually really working. And it's really great. I'm so pleased that sequence came out the way that it did. It's such a great bit. I love it.
Yeah. Well, the thing about an American audience, we love British humor.
Yes.
And it's so funny because when I talk to British filmmakers and they have their films shown in the UK and then they have their films shown in America, the reactions from the audience are usually different, which is really odd.
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, I was very nervous. In the UK, we kind of have grown up with the idea that the Americans kind of love our accent. They love like the royal family and all this sort of stuff. But British humor, I just didn't think this would translate to the American audiences. And as I said, it went down so well. People were laughing in moments they shouldn't have been laughing, like, especially like these sort of more like emotional sort of moment. People were howling. People just couldn't stop laughing, and because the film is so short, it's just over and done with, and then you're on to the next real sort of hard hitting drama that's like half an hour long. And ours was this short, sweet British comedy that kind of played slap bang in the middle of everything. And I think they really got on with it. They really loved it. It was really great.
What was so cool, and I watched this scene a couple of times, and when the brothers finally told her why they robbed the store, I mean, her reaction was the total opposite of what I was expecting from her, which made the whole moment in this film perfect.
Yeah, she nailed it. Annette was, yeah, as I said, she was amazing. And, that take in that film, I didn't really give much direction throughout the day, I have to admit. I kind of let the actors kind of get on and just told them little bit smaller, a little bit bigger, like you can kind of have fun here and there. But that moment I knew was kind of pivotal, because it's the whole reason why this is all happening. And if Annette doesn't kind of nail it, then it all might fall apart. And we done a couple of takes, and it was just a bit too big for my liking. So I just simply just pulled her out of the car and said, look, Annette, can you just play it a bit more kind of withdrawn, please? Like, I think it just needs to be a bit more insular. And she smashed out the next takes. The take you see in the film, she completely nailed it. And I was already nervous giving her direction, because I was like, she's just going to laugh this in my face because I don't know what I'm talking about. And then it happened, and I turned to Kit and I turned to Bish, my first AD, and we all looked at each other like, nailed it. Like, that was it. And I am so proud of that moment. And it's all done in a single take as well, which I so love. And the camera just ever so softly kind of pans slightly to Sam, who's like sat next to her, out of focus, and he reveals why they're doing it. And the whole moment's played with the focus on Nan. And you don't need to see Ashley, the gunman. You can just see it all on her face. And I love that moment. And even when we were mixing the film, when the score's playing, I was very explicit on, we need to preserve this moment. It's so wonderful. She's so amazing that, we have to just slowly fade out the music. So, because her acting is the biggest special effects that we've got. It's amazing. So let's just make sure that, we kind of treasure this bit. And, it's just so great. And as I said, some people do kind of laugh in that moment, but most people, they really feel the gears changing in the film. They get what's going on, and then it ramps back up again, and then that tension starts back up, and people continue laughing. But I'm so glad that gear change works, because it could have been a disaster.
Oh yeah, because I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, now I want to see more. and then I got to think, I said, okay, if Annette wasn't playing this part and it was somebody else, how would it play out? Because sometimes I like to watch films and then let me switch characters and how would the storyline go? And I was sitting there thinking, when I was watching it, and I was like, what if Helen Mirren was playing Nan? How would that play out? And I thought, once she found out that the brothers robbed the store for her, her character probably would have went, well, let's go knock off another one.
Yeah.
But with Annette, what was so funny about the ending scene is when Ashley gets out of the car and he calls to her. I'm like, get back in, the cops are coming. What are you doing? And but it's almost like the way that it ended, I'm almost thinking Nan could end up being a ringleader for a robbery ring.
That's a really good idea. Honestly, the amount of people that have said to me, this needs to be longer, it could be a feature, it could be a TV series. My mum is not filmmaking inclined. She works, in like care homes, not that sort of person. She's already outlined for me her idea for the sequel. She's developed this whole thing. She was like, there's so much more to this story. You can easily like make something out of it. And a few people have said that to me, but I've always kind of felt it was like a contained story. But because they give such great performances, I'm now toying with the idea of it. Maybe it could be, and it should be something else. Maybe it should be developed into something further, because I just want to work with them again. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're just such lovely people.
With these characters, I would go with a streaming series and not a feature. Now, you could do a feature, but I think everybody loves these characters so much that they want to see them every week.
Yeah.
And of course, you can expand, because with Nan, the cool thing about her character is she would probably pull in some of her friends. Yeah. So that's what made this film so great, because you use the clock to cause tension, not just with the characters, but with the audience. Mm-hmm. And we're internally going, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. You're going to get caught. What are you doing standing there? You're standing outside the car with a mask on. Somebody's going to see you. So we're just rambling off in our head all the things that the characters should be doing. And there's nothing better than getting an audience involved within the storyline, cheering them on or like trying to help them out. And
Yeah.
this is the perfect film. I think this is one of the few films I've seen this year that causes a very heavy audience response and involvement with the characters.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That's so great. No, I appreciate that. No, it's, you can feel it. When you watch the film with the audience, and I've seen this film an awful lot this year, with an American audience and with, a UK audience, and you can feel the tension. You can just feel the film working on people. And that's, the score, especially at the start of the film, is incredibly well done by Tom and Daisy. They've done an amazing job on that. And, that really kind of brings us into this sort of crime world. But the moment that timer is hit and you have to crash zoom onto the shot, we know, like, okay, this is now ramping up. And it was an awful lot of fun to kind of direct and just kind of craft the film with that as the sort of kind of spine kind of running through it. And, I certainly would love to do it again, especially on a larger scale and maybe I don't know how, but certainly in a larger sort of way. It's a lot of fun, but it's also inherently cinematic as well. Time, Alfred Hitchcock, the anticipation of the bomb, the anticipation of the ticking clock, something is going to happen when we hit zero. It's just inherently cinematic. And, it's been great to kind of feel that with the audience. And it's a really cinematic film. Like, as much as, as modestly as I can say that, it feels cinematic, which is really great.
It does. And I think the one scene that kicks this whole thing off is when Ashley goes into the store, but then the way you set the shot up where Nan appears in front of the car, that was like hitting the clock right then and there.
Yeah. That was always going to be the way that we introduced Nan. And I said to Kit, we have to get zoom lenses. I don't care how you do it. We need zoom lenses because it's really going to help with the tension. And I've got this idea that, we slowly zoom in on, the driver as he's kind of like waiting. And we cut to see the zoom on the shot. But Nan's going to interrupt that frame and it's going to really kind of snap us out of this genre, like this crime heist, into the comedy. And that was one of the first shot setups of the day. And once we nailed it, I was like, great, this is really going to work. This is really going to work. And it was just so much fun.
I can't believe that you got it shot in one day, because I'm sitting here watching the film and I'm thinking, okay, you shot inside the car through the front windshield. You shot inside the car at Samuel, Ashley, Nan. You had Ashley on outside the car with a camera shot coming from the front of the car. Then you had the camera shot from the back of the car as Ashley was calling it to Nan towards the end of the film. Then you said you had a handheld chasing Ashley as he's going back to the car. And I'm like, with all the camera shots, I'm really surprised you got it done in one day.
Yeah, no, that was full credit to my first AD, Bish, my mate Bish. His name's David, but we call him Bish. And, we really kind of mapped out how we were going to shoot it. And, it all kind of comes down to economy. As I said earlier, I don't really like shooting a lot of coverage. And, I was also the editor on the film. So I knew that once I got into the editing, I knew, like, okay, I don't need this. This is literally what I need to make the film work. And that economy, I think, builds the tension because we're lingering on these zoom shots longer. I'm not really covering the scene too much, so we're kind of holding in these moments a lot more. So when we do kind of cut a bit faster during the sort of child lock sequence, as we call it, that's when the comedy can kind of come out. But I think that economy really kind of helped just bring the drama in. It just helped the audience kind of become a bit more involved because it's not so much cut. We're just holding in these sort of shots a bit longer. I love doing that. It's so much fun.
Now, because the film is 6 minutes long, how long was the first cut in editing?
It's not actually been any longer. So it's 6 minutes including credits. Let's just make that straight.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
it is. So the actual film itself, I think, runs for about 5 minutes and 30. So, we've actually had a load of notes by people saying the credits are far too long. It's like, we need to, it's actually like 1/6 of the running time, which is, it's a fair point. But the film has always been round about 5.5 minutes long. It's never been any longer than that. The only thing that's really been cut out is when Sam is waiting. Once Ashley goes into the shop and Sam is sitting in the car, anticipating, before Nan arrives, we shot a load of really crime-esque, extreme close-ups of him looking in the wing mirror, his hand, on the steering wheel, tapping away. These shots that would help kind of build this tension. But those sort of insert shots weren't flowing correctly with the zoom-in shot of Nan as she appears. It was, I don't know, it just wasn't flowing correctly. So we actually had to cut some of those out. But nothing else was cut out. It was all as tight and as lean as you see in the film. I don't have a lot of coverage, so what we got is what we got to use. So it really kind of fed into this energy of, let's keep it lean, let's keep the editing quite muscular, quite tight, let's not hang around. And I'm really proud that the film does that. As I said, the film sometimes plays between these really long 15, 20 minute, 30-minute short films. And ours is this little in your out sort of short film. It's 5-6 minutes long. It doesn't hang about. It does exactly what it needs to do. And I love the film because it does that.
Yeah, and I think just by Nan appearing at the very beginning, that's all the tension that film needed to kick off the rest of the events in this film. And I laugh because 30 seconds worth of credits is not long. I've had films this year where credits were rolling for 2 to 2.5 minutes. And I'm thinking, why do you have a crew so large on a short film?
Yeah.
I mean, there's enough credits in some of these short films that would equal a feature film.
Yeah. No, we don't have that.
Well, you are double qualified. You are qualified for BAFTA as well as BIFA. You're going to be very busy promoting this film.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. We recently won the Audience Award for Best Short Film at the London Film Festival as well. So that's been very exciting. To even screen at the London Film Festival was a dream come true. It's the UK's sort of biggest film festival that we have. It's the most prestigious. Even people that aren't film inclined know of the London Film Festival. So when we got in, I had a very emotional breakdown. It was a very moving thing for me. And then we won the Audience Award, which was, again, completely wild. We didn't anticipate that at all. So that was really great. We'd already qualified for BAFTA just by getting into the London Film Festival. But now we've won this Audience Award. There have been people talking about BAFTA, but I'm not getting my hopes up. That's not really why I want to have a career in filmmaking. Awards is all great and talking to you is really lovely, but I want to make films. I'm itching to move on to the next film. I've got so much I want to do. And I'm hoping this can kind of crack open the door a little bit so that I can keep making stuff. And again, as I said earlier, we had this one shot. This was it. We really had to nail it. And I think we did nail it. And, it's working with the audience, which is really lovely.
Yeah, it's one of the most fun films that I have watched this season. And,
Thank you.
and when I say I love this film, I love this film. There's just so much. And I mean, ladies and gentlemen, Jamie Benyon's anxiety-filled, endearing short film, 2 minutes, again, left me wanting more and more. I mean, following the death of their grandfather, the two brothers decide to rob a convenience store in which they have 2 minutes to grab what they can before the police arrives. But their Nan unexpectedly walks by, creating more tension during their attempted heist. Now, everyone who has the opportunity to see this film has either fallen in love with it or will fall in love with 2 minutes once they see it. All I want to see is more of these three characters as I think there is either a streaming series, maybe a feature film within this film, but could Nan become a ringleader in a family-based crime syndication of bubbling or wannabe robbers? But only Jamie Benyon knows the answer to that. And Jamie, again, I love this film. I thank you for coming on, sharing the insights of this film with us today. And I can't wait to see how far this film goes in the award season.
Great. No, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having us on board. And, I just want to, again, thank you for watching it. I'm glad the film worked for you. I'm so pleased that the crew and the cast's hard work is being recognised. And, as I said, winning that audience award at the London Film Festival was a big thing for us. And we are over the moon to be where we're at. And we're really grateful and really humbled.
Well, very, very well deserved. And again, ladies and gentlemen, whenever you have the opportunity to see 2 minutes, either at a film festival, maybe when it debuts online, you've got to watch it because it is the best 6 minutes and the most fun 6 minutes you'll ever have when it comes to cinema. So as for me, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for watching and listening. You'll either see me at the movies or from the red carpet.